What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 Squad? I've got my earphones here. That means we're going to be reacting to some nonsense today from the First Takes crew. I've done this for a couple of years now. Every time they come out with some nonsense to talk about. But listen, man, I want to go over this video because I was just about to start editing my 2 videos I just recorded today. And I'm just about to edit that. I go on YouTube and I see First Take has this video saying Stephen A. Smith thinks the Giants had the worst first round of the draft. Are you absolutely kidding me? There are Seattle Seahawks freaking took Jordan Brooks out of Texas Tech in the first round. But of course he doesn't want to talk about that because he has no clue how to talk about football. He doesn't know the draft. He doesn't know draft prospects. He doesn't get the NFL draft. He only goes by what Mel Kiper says on ESPN, and Mel Kiper is a joke, okay? I'm about to go off, man, because I watched this video. I couldn't even get through half of it without my head trying to explode out of my brain, okay? What did I just say? My brain trying to explode out of my head. I'm sorry. I'm all discombobulated today because of what I just saw. Now, we're going to start off this video in the middle of the segment because Max Kellerman chose the Green Bay Packers having the first round of the draft, which makes absolutely no sense because they got the quarterback of the future that needs years of development, and he's going to have those years with no rush because we have Aaron Rodgers to look after, okay? Now, I'm not going to get too much into this, but Aaron Rodgers is probably one of the better quarterbacks to be under. Now, Aaron Rodgers is not going to like the situation, but Jordan Love, this is the best situation for Jordan Love. And Max Kellerman comes out and says that Jordan Love needs to be a Hall of Fame prospect. You got him 26th overall. You traded up from 30 to 26 for a 4th round pick. And you're saying this guy has to be a Hall of Famer? Are you out of... He said the same thing with Daniel Jones. And are you out of your mind, Max Kellerman? You guys don't know football. You don't know the draft. You don't know draft prospects. You don't know how these things work. You've been in the news media for how long now? All right, we need to talk about this, okay? Because we're not going to talk about Max Kellerman and the Packers right now. That's for any Packers video makers to make. But let's talk about Stephen A. Smith talking about, and I'm not even going to say what he's going to say. I'm going to let him say it for himself. Let's go over it together, guys.
Well, I completely agree with you on the Green Bay Packers pick. There's nothing to add there, although I'm going to pick the New York Giants. And it's interesting that you mentioned the 13 games that the Green Bay Packers won last year. Your New York Giants have won 11 games in the last 3 years. Think about that for a second here. And so you're the New York Giants. Here you are, 11 games in 3 years. Okay. Obviously, defense is an issue. You rank 30th overall defensively, 28th against the pass, and you pass up on Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, who can play linebacker, safety, corner. He can do it all. When you ask him what he is, he's a football player. And
let me stop you right there. That is one thing I could understand, okay, especially from a casual football fan that Stephen A. Smith says, that Stephen A. Smith is. Obviously, he's going to say Isaiah Simmons is the better pick. Why? Because he only watches highlights. You look at when he talks about Mehki Becton after, he talks about highlights. This guy was willing to say Mehki Becton was a better prospect than Andrew Thomas. That already disregards his statements. Dwayne Haskins is more of a runner than a thrower. This guy knows nothing about the NFL draft, man. Knows nothing about college prospects making a transition into the NFL. He also talks about, we'll talk about it, he'll say it, but he talks about Isaiah Simmons being able to play cornerback, safety, linebacker, edge rusher. In the NFL, guys that are that versatile wound up just playing one position. That's how it works in the NFL. Look at Jabril Peppers. He's our newest Giant safety. We got him last year in the trade. He was a Swiss Army knife for Michigan a couple of years ago. But what is he playing with the Giants right now? Strong safety. Yes, he plays in the box, plays that dime corner sometimes. He plays inside linebacker because we needed help. Our inside linebackers were beat up last year. So he'll come in and play inside linebacker every once in a while in the box. But he is a strong safety. You're not going to see a lot of versatile guys playing versatile positions. You're never going to see Isaiah Simmons line up at cornerback in the NFL. I can guarantee you that, okay? So you want to talk about the versatility factor? I get that. You want to talk about how Isaiah Simmons was a prospect they could have gone after? I get that. But to say that Andrew Thomas was the worst pick in the first round of the draft is astounding. Let's go after that. Let's talk about the other nonsense he talks about. Let's let him talk about it.
Clearly recognized as the elite talent in the draft, maybe with people debating whether or not Chase Young, who's taken at number 2, could be that guy, but that was about it. That's number 1. Number 2, and more importantly, even if you decide to stick with offense with Andrew Thomas, which is what you did, draft an offensive tackle out of Georgia, Jedrick Willis Jr. out of Alabama was projected as being better. I don't know that position. I'm just going by what the aficionados say. I'm not wishing anything bad about Andrew Thomas. Great story. Wish him nothing but the best. Looking forward to seeing him in big blue uniform. But in the end, there was somebody that was projected better than him coming out of Alabama in Jedrick Willis Jr. So you wonder why they didn't take him. Then you've got this kid, Mehki Becton, out of Louisville that the Jets took, and you saw the highlights of him just rolling over people. Just a monster of a man. Those 2 guys actually looked better on film from what I could see than Andrew Thomas. So I'm looking at that as well. The combination of those, the fact that you can point to 1, arguably 2, that were better, a better selection than Andrew Thomas.
Let's just disregard Stephen A's comments. He already disproves himself knowing anything about the draft, calling Jedrick Willis. You can tell that he's probably just heard about Jedrick Willis in the past couple of days, looking at mock drafts, getting ready to talk about the first round of the draft, because he doesn't know what he's talking about, and that's obviously what they're going to be talking about. He has no clue what he's talking about, calling Jedrick Willis, and that may be small, but that's a Stephen A thing. Stephen A, you know he doesn't know what he's talking about when he mispronounces names, talk about players that are not on the roster anymore, and talk about players that he talked about. Mehki Becton was better on film. Film is not highlights. He just talked about highlights and film in the same sentence. That already disproves your argument again. You don't talk about highlights and say it's film. It's not film, okay? Those are the best moments of the player's career, is the highlights. Anybody could look like a Hall of Fame player. A 6th-round prospect could look like a Hall of Fame player with highlights, okay? You can get that anywhere. He talked about the highlights that were showing during the NFL draft. Obviously, he's going to show his highlights there, not going to show his film and what he does wrong there, because it's the first round of the draft. They're not going to do that to the prospect, okay? Mehki Becton was the worst of the 4 prospects that were mentioned as the top 4 prospects. Mehki Becton was the most raw player of the 4 players mentioned out of Jedrick Willis, Andrew Thomas, Mehki Becton, and Tristan Wirfs, okay? So he didn't even mention Tristan Wirfs. He could have mentioned Tristan Wirfs, but he said Andrew Thomas wasn't better than Jedrick Willis or Mehki Becton. Now, Jedrick Willis and Andrew Thomas were the top 2 tackles. It's very hard to say who was better. I had Andrew Thomas as number 1. That's my opinion. I get that, but he's out here saying that Andrew Thomas could have been the worst prospect to get at tackle at number 4. Now, I bet he hasn't even heard of the guy before that. These casual draft analysts, these casual, news and media and ESPN guys don't know what they're talking about. They go off of Mel Kiper. They go off of these draft boards. When is Mel Kiper and a lot of these other draft experts ever really right? Their big boards, their mock drafts are never in the right order. Look at Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, and Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs went first, then Jerry Jeudy, and then CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb fell all the way to 17. They're never really right, okay? And a lot of these guys may work out better than the others, okay? So, are you guys seeing the stupidity in Stephen A. Smith? He has no clue what he's talking about. He's going by what the producers are saying in his ears. He's going by what he sees from other guys on ESPN. He has no research done whatsoever on these prospects, and that's okay. That is fine. Just don't talk about it. Don't talk about it.
Well, look, I'm glad you brought up the 11 wins. First of all, can I say something about Gettleman? What's he putting the mask on for? It's a good message to send. People should be careful. But you're in your basement. There's no one else there. You think you're going to get something through the computer? What was he doing, Stephen A?
He was battling cancer.
No, wait, Max. I got to clarify that. He did have workers there, and he's battled cancer twice. He did have people there, so that's why he had the mask on.
Pardon me. Yeah. Pardon me, right. I apologize. I did not understand there were workers there. Pardon me, my fault.
Yeah, there were.
Okay.
Yep.
Not to make fun, and I understand he was sick.
Max Kellerman just got put in his place by Molly. I don't even like Molly, but she laid it to him straight, man. Don't be talking about my guy DG like that, homeboy DG. Don't be talking about my boy DG like that.
Saquon's different than everyone else, but you could have traded back and gotten lots of stuff and a really good running back, then that would have been the thing to do, even if you're convinced about Saquon. Or Daniel Jones at 6, you could probably get later in that draft and pick up some draft capital, then you should do that, and the same goes here. You could trade back and get a left tackle unless you believe the guy you took gives you such a premium over the tackle other teams took. And people might say, well, no, he couldn't find a draft partner. He couldn't find a trade partner. Sometimes it's not just there. But is it never there? And it's not there for 3 seasons? You can't find some way to do it and extract some value? So even when he's guessing right, he's paying a premium plus in order to get the right player. When maybe you could get something comparable and get value in addition. The proof in the pudding is the wins and losses.
And let me finish off with saying this. Max Kellerman saying that they could have traded. Basically, what he's saying is that they could have traded down for Andrew Thomas because he wasn't the best tackle there, even though that's their guy. Not exactly. Just because you're going off of Mel Kiper's big board doesn't mean that's the be-all, end-all. You don't know if other GMs like Andrew Thomas. You think Dave Gettleman is the only GM out of 32 GMs that have Andrew Thomas as their number 1 offensive tackle? Absolutely not. And Andrew Thomas can be a number 1 tackle. A lot of people say 2. I respect that. When you go 3, I'm like, he's not number 3. Who are you going to put ahead of him? Tristan Wirfs or Mehki Becton? Come on. These guys know nothing what they're talking about. They should not be on ESPN. They should not be talking about the draft. Put some guys that know what they're talking about. Daniel Jeremiah. That's why I love NFL Network. Daniel Jeremiah. I'm not a big fan of Charles Davis, but there's a lot of guys I know what they're talking about on NFL Network, and that's why they're on NFL Network and not ESPN. So that being said, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Any Giants fans watching this, man, I know you guys are just cringing at what you just witnessed. I'm sorry, we witnessed it together and we put them in their place. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Woo!